Now is New Jersey Democratic Senator Bob Menendez, who sits on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator Menendez, what does it tell you that the Russians have hacked Burisma, or trying to, and gotten in so far, according to the New York Times, in a similar way that they hacked Clinton's emails and the DNC in 2016?
Well, it's Russia doing President Trump's dirty work again. Remember, in the last campaign for president, candidate Trump at the time said, "Russia, if you're hearing me, get Hillary's emails." And sure enough, they did. And now the Russians are engaged once again in seeking to interfere in our elections and give an advantage to President Trump. And one must ask the question, why do they do so? They do so because they obviously have come to the conclusion that President Trump, in terms of their relationships, his potential relationship with Russia and Putin, is better than some of these other candidates, including Vice President Biden.
What would you like to hear from President Trump about this? I mean, he's yet to comment. Hard to imagine that he wouldn't comment at some point. He has called for not only Russia during the last campaign, but China during this campaign to investigate the Bidens.
I know what I'd like, Anderson. I know what we won't get. We still could not get President Trump, despite all of his unanimous intelligence agencies, including the leaders of those agencies that he appointed, saying that Russia interfered. He says that he accepts President Putin's denial that he did not. He's happy to have Russia engaged in our elections as long as it's to his benefit, and he will not do something adverse to Russia in this regard. There are plenty of actions that he could take right now, setting some very severe sanctions that are already in law that have not been implemented for what happened already, and now as a preventive, as a deterrence to Russia doing anything more, and I would bet my bottom dollar we'll see none of that.
This new CNN reporting that Rudy Giuliani is lobbying President Trump to be part of his impeachment legal team and wants to present the president's case on the Senate floor. How do you think that would work or not work?
Well, that would be a double D. A delight for the House managers, a disaster for the president. A delight for the House managers because having Giuliani, who probably should be a witness of anything, much less somebody arguing for the president, would ultimately be able to throw his own words at him during the course of an interchange and cross-examination and or an engagement, and remind Giuliani what he said at any given time, which overwhelmingly is detrimental to the president. A disaster for the president because it would turn it into a circus versus the serious legal proceedings that are required of an impeachment trial. I think the American people want to see a full, fair, honest, transparent trial, and that means having witnesses, but serious witnesses, as well as documents. Every American who's ever been involved in a trial, as a juror, as a participant, knows that it involves witnesses and documents, and they have to be relevant to the issue at hand.
A number of Republican senators indicated today that they were not in favor of a motion to dismiss impeachment, with one Republican saying there's almost no interest among all Republicans to do that. We also heard Senator Romney say he wants witnesses to be called at the trial. Do you think those are actual breaks in Republican ranks, or just, moderate Republicans kind of giving themselves a little wiggle room?
I think they're listening, hopefully, to the polls, where 2/3 of all of the American people want to see, for example, former National Security Advisor Ambassador Bolton testify. People like the President's Chief of Staff, Mulvaney, testify. And there's a difference between wanting to hear from them. They can guarantee by voting to have witnesses, a small but very definite number of witnesses that can shed real light on what transpired here so we can come to an honest decision, would be critical. They have the power in their hands. Either we will get witnesses because Republicans who are being patriots and not partisans will join us to have witnesses, and if we don't have witnesses, it will be because Republicans wanted a whitewash and not a real transparent trial.
There is reporting that Susan Collins, Republican senator, is working with a small group of Republicans to allow witnesses at the trial. I'm wondering, from what you're hearing from your fellow senators, how much confidence do you have that that might actually happen?
Well, without betraying any confidences, if what several of my colleagues on the Republican side say to me is ultimately what they do, then there will be votes for witnesses. If, however, when the moment comes where you need a profiling courage, particularly with this president who abuses all of those who stand in his way, and they collapse, then we won't have witnesses. But I think there is a growing view among several Republicans who understand what an honest, fair, transparent trial is, witnesses and documents, listening to the American people, overwhelmingly want certain witnesses. I hope they'll answer the call of the patriot.
I'm certainly not going to ask you names, but what you're saying is you have had, and just so I want to make sure I hear this correctly, you've had Republican colleagues, Republican senators say to you they would like to see witnesses.
Yes, yes.
Do you think there are, I mean, what is it, 4 is needed? Are there enough?
I think it's within the universe of there being enough. The question is, when it comes time, wanting to see witnesses and voting to have witnesses are two different things. I hope they will vote to have witnesses.
Senator Menendez, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.